Call meeting to order, Finance and Admin Committee for today. Roll call, please.
Yes. Director Eisenhart,
Here.
Director Edwards,
Here.
Director Riley.
Here.
All members are present.
Okay. Any members of the public here? Not anyone on Zoom at all?
No, we have staff participating remotely. We have no members of the public.
Okay. I'd like you to be introduced again.
My name is Corey Hamilton. I'm the fisheries biologist for the water.
I knew you were connected. I didn't know where. I didn't remember your name. Thank you. Okay. The action items are mostly for the consent calendar, but we'll see where we go. Is there a presenter on each of these, or am I freelancing?
There should be a presenter for each item, depending on the staff report.
I have number two.
Well, I can handle this one. We met on May 13th, and these are minutes of that meeting. So any members of the committee have any questions about narrative and so on? Descriptions? Not, there are no, entertain a motion to approve?
I move approval of the minutes.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And what did we hear from? Wait a minute, we're taking Mr. Eisenhart. Are you participating in this item? I didn't hear any voice.
I did not. I'm abstaining.
Okay, clarify. Pass 2-0 and 1 abstention. Okay, item number 2 is we've got a series of contracts here, so we'll play musical chairs with where it goes. Okay, thank you.
Chair Riley,
Yes, I'm sorry.
there was an item about additions and corrections to the agenda
Oh,
before item 1.
okay,
Sorry, I should
good.
have interrupted.
All right, so I'll ask, are there additions or changes to the agenda?
There are 2 minor changes for item number 16 and item 21. And we can talk about it when we get there.
Number 16 and number 21?
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for dragging me back. Okay, so we'll consider those 2 items when they come up. Okay, back to item number 2. Fisheries.
All right. We would like you guys to consider to authorize the annual agreement with Telemetrics to continue to provide up to 100 hours of consultation services. These services are basically for the PLC, which is the computer monitor that runs Sleepy Hollow's rearing facility. And it's a maintenance and software upgrade, startup, winterize. It also consists of troubleshooting, training staff, maintenance of an encrypted web service to allow on-site control, which is pretty imperative in the sense that when you're out in the field and you have something happening and it's happening in the middle of the night, instead of having to go on site, we can actually get on the computer, find out what's exactly going on and change pumps or turn on the screen to go faster, or a variety of different things. It also includes a 24-hour alarm service and monitoring, and it also includes replacement and maintenance of the sensors and things. He's also a licensed electrician. You kind of get 2 for 1 as far as installation. Some of the installations require an electrician to come out. He's certified and licensed for that, so he's a 2 for 1 bargain. He's been proven to be available at all hours of the night, so I've had chances to call him at 2 a.m. because there was a problem, and he picks up the phone every time. Good example during crisis management was the 2020 Carmel fire. He was very helpful and pivotal in keeping operations going, finding generator fuel, was the generator operating and not when we couldn't get back out there. So these off-site remote access pieces are super important. He's got about 4 years of experience working with us specifically now. He really understands how we operate. He understands what the needs are. and what some of the permit requirement needs are as far as the data collection. This PLC monitors everything from flow, water temperature, all the other water quality aspects, and these are all things that we have to report at the end of the year. So he helps us with that. He's local, he's out of Marina, and that part is very important because the other person that we looked at when we were building this, the next closest place was San Jose, and they said that they would not probably be available, say 24 hours to just get here quickly. So he's been very pivotal in being able to help with emergencies. And the best thing is he's the cheapest.
So what's the driving time between the mouth of the valley and this facility?
And Sleepy Hollow, it's from the mouth of the valley, it's 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Yeah, and it
I was
depends.
expecting it was going to be worse than that, but
No, it's about 25 minutes. Even from here, it's about 20 minutes if, there isn't some congestion or something going on. But it takes about 25 minutes,
Okay.
maybe 30 minutes tops.
okay.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments from the committee? We've been using them for how long?
This will be our 4th season. Ever since we did the upgrade, he was the one, his company is the one that designed maintaining the service out there.
So I just have a couple of checking questions on the actual contract or invoices. May 9th,
I'll do my best to answer.
2-pager. I think.
Yep, we got it.
So just going down real quick. The estimate of 100 hours a year for work by the principal, is that your experience historically? That's a fair estimate?
Yes, depending. So the first couple of years that we operated, we had a lot of emergency type things because the Carmel fire came. And then after the Carmel fire, we had hill slope up above that was starting to go. So we ended up having to put a couple other sensors in. So so far it's been about that. Last year, he probably used less because we didn't run. So it was mainly a maintenance and a startup scenario.
Which leads to my follow-up question, which is this a pay upfront invoice or is it an estimated invoice over a 12-month period?
I believe it's estimated.
So we get a bill.
Yeah, we'll only pay for the work performed. That's my understanding.
That's my understanding.
So we get like a bill once a month, something like that.
Yeah. If he spends 3 hours, he'll bill for 3 hours. If he spends 10, then it will be 10.
And moving down is the extraordinary insurance. Do we know what that's for?
I don't know. I'm imagining that's something that we probably had put on there, or maybe Cal-Am because he's on that property. That might be the insurance stuff, but I'm not positive.
Oh, that we're requiring him to.
That we're requiring him, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that seems like a lot. And the shield, do we get an invoice on that? That's a pass-through invoice, or do we know what that looks like?
I'll have to investigate this, how the insurance is being billed. We can dig a little deeper too. And if the committee were to recommend adoption of this contract, we can go back to the vendor and check in if that insurance estimate, like what it is, and if that could be perhaps reduced. I don't know.
Yeah, well, why it's required.
Yeah. why
I
it's-
remember there being a couple of years back, I thought there was a requirement. I thought either we required it or Cal-Am required it at some point.
Maria?
Is it 10 million insurance?
$10,000. I don't know what the coverage is.
Our standard contracts require auto insurance liability and general liability, either 1 million or 2 million, depending on the contract. And so sometimes that's an additional cost to the vendors, and they pass on that cost to us.
Is there a workers' comp type of thing? Is it going out to the site?
He does go out to the site.
Yeah.
Maybe workers' comp. I don't know what it is. I just was wondering if it just seemed like a lot, but for a small contract?
Yeah,
I
for
don't know.
smaller vendors, it couldn't be, yeah, we can look into that too.
Calium does require $10 million in insurance before anybody even step foot on one of their sites. And it's, I know even the handyman that they use, that we have used, he carries 10 million.
That might explain it. If you're asking a small vendor to carry a $10 million insurance.
Don't know. Be interesting to find out. That's it though. Thanks a lot. I don't have any other questions.
Can I ask that just confirming, I mean, Maureen, you're sure that it's the CalAm requirement for 10 million that's probably behind this number? Can we just get a confirmation of that when it comes up in the general, the meeting?
We can do that,
Just a confirmation?
sure.
Okay.
We can reach out to the vendor and get this clarified.
Okay, so, any other questions? Norman?
No, I move approval, but, if I get a second, something in the future I'd like to see.
I'll second.
Okay. When we got hours like this and a contract like this, I think y'all need to do a little bit more researching. Director Eisenhardt mentioned, how many hours is he working out there? And it'd be something good to put in the report. Because if he's not doing 100 hours, we're saving a little bit of money. And I hope we're just not paying.
Yeah, we aren't paying upfront.
Okay, well, we need to check to make sure. And you did a good report, so you sold me on it. He asked all the good questions I needed to ask. Good. But
All right, so in the future, you'd like to see roughly how?
y'all need to check in how many hours in putting your, he worked X hours. And if he didn't work them, we should be getting money back or saving money.
Yeah.
So a little bit more research out there.
Okay.
And that'll let them know that we'll be checking, young.
Okay, any more comments, questions? If not?
There was no second,
No, I seconded.
did you?
Yes.
Okay.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 3, speaking of CalAm, this is rebate issues.
Thank you, Mr. Riley.
Okay.
This is my first of 10, I believe.
Yeah, there's a long list.
So we're requesting that the Finance and Administration Committee approve continued funding of the rebate program until CalAm gets a decision on its general rate case. And you may recall last November, I came to the board and the board agreed that we would fund rebates out of our general fund. The district's, what is it, is that right? Yeah, the general reserve fund until the GRC is approved. The GRC has $1.1 million in it for rebates. And at such time as it gets approved, then we will invoice CalAm and they'll pay us back for the rebates that we've funded. So at this time, in fact, just this morning, we got notice from the CPUC that the judge has kind of extended the timeline for the GRC. And I think we're now expecting hopefully a draft decision sometime by the end of September. But that also means it has to then get calendared before the actual commission. And that may take, sometimes that can take a couple of months before that happens. So what I'm proposing at this time is that we approve funding through December at $200,000 using the district reserve.
Is there any chance, can I, if I may?
Yes.
Sure. Is there any chance that this, the GRC won't be finalized before the next fiscal year?
Before the next calendar year?
Fiscal year.
Oh, I think, well, if I may, just to modify Stephanie's timeline slightly, the judge did ask for an extension
to have the commission make a decision before the end of September 2024. He's obviously in the process of writing his proposed decision now, requested a document from the settling parties of which we are not one. And so it's a work in progress. And then once his proposed decision is released, then the parties, including the district, have 20 days to submit comments, and then another 5 days. So a total of 25 days before all comments on a proposed decision, meaning that we should be busy definitely in July and sometime in August so that it can be put on the calendar for the commission to decide in September. If not, they'll need to have a further extension through December of 2024.
And once the commission decides, and it's just my ignorance on the administrative process, when does it become final?
It's probably 30, you have 30 days within which to appeal, and it's a direct appeal to the California Supreme Court.
And nobody's anticipating that.
No, the best we can do is provide our comments, which we've already done through the hearing process and cross-examination. The testimony that we submitted, we have, as I mentioned, there was a settlement between Cal-Am and Cal Advocates. We objected to some aspects of that settlement and expressed our rationale for why we objected. Whether the judge feels that we have made a case, we will find out when the proposed decision comes out. So.
All right, so that's, I guess my point is, from a fiscal point of view, is there any chance that the reimbursements of up to $200,000, as well as the rebates that have already issued, is there any chance that it would not happen within this upcoming the current fiscal year?
I would say it's unlikely that it would. Because what happens once they approve the GRC, then Cal-Am can ramp up its collections. And they should be able to pay us
Quickly.
One would think. I mean, they have in the past. We've front loaded this, and I think this was in the staff. Yeah, we've done it several times before.
Yeah, and when we do it, when we all notify the board that we got our money back. You know, I remember doing this last year. Is rate case still, you know, those rate cases 3 years.
Right.
So do they owe us any? It was 200,000 last year. It was 200,000. As long as I sit on this board, it's been 200,000. Have we got our money back?
We got paid for all of the previous GRCs. Yes.
Okay.
So we're just waiting for this one.
Like this one, when it's approved, we get our $200,000 back.
Plus, well, we'll get our $200,000 plus what we've already spent this fiscal year.
Okay.
So would it be fair to assume that once the GRC is approved, then that's the time then we'll get the funding?
Hey,
200,000.
it'd be nice to know is when we get paid back that you saying we got paid back. Publicly say we got paid back.
Right, I mean, my question is really ultimately is for Nikhil, because do we budget these reimbursements for the current fiscal year coming up?
No.
It is budgeted. It's the timing when we receive the funds. So we have budgeted for the funds. For current fiscal year, I think we had 400,000. For next budget, we have 370,000.
Outgo.
Yes, outgoing to the.
But are the reimbursements, that's my question, are the reimbursements from Cal-Am?
Those are also budgeted as reimbursable revenue coming in.
All right, that's all I want.
Okay, I just had one other question just to clarify. You said the proposal, your modification of what you just heard was, the proposed decision is for September?
No, a final decision
Hopefully we'll have a final
Okay,
decision.
That was my
Yeah.
question.
by
I
the
couldn't-
commission.
By the commission in September. Okay, that's better.
I'm assuming it's going to be a long decision.
Yes, they tend to run anywhere. Well, the text itself can run over 100 pages. And then all of their accountings for how they think the monies are spent in the various areas are several hundred more pages. We only focus on the central district and specifically for Monterey when we're looking at those things.
Right, this general rate case is statewide for Cal-Am.
Yes.
So that's why it's so damn big. Every other area they serve has a stake in this decision. Okay, all in favor, please say aye. Oops,
You make the motion. and-
Oh, no, I thought that.
No, make
We
the
didn't do
motion.
that yet. I thought you guys,
That was item 2.
that was item 2.
I
I'm too
move,
fast for
I
myself.
move to approve item 3, the $200,000 cost estimate for front loading
Rebates.
the rebates.
There we-
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Okay, slow down, George. Item number 4, there's no motion yet.
Okay, on this item, yeah. So this is requesting authorization to renew our annual license agreement with Waterwise. Actually, there's a typo in the title, so Sarah, remind me to fix that. It's the Waterwise gardening software that's on our website. The board actually heard this item in February, I believe, of this year, because this license actually comes up for renewal in March. But we wanted to get these things before the board now, get the authorization so we don't have to track it as we go through the year. So this is just our annual thing. It is a cost of $5,000. We have the software on our website as well as on the Water Awareness Committee website. And it allows people to go in and customize a list of plants, drought tolerant, water efficient plants for their landscaping. And so we get hits on quite a few hits every year. And it's used by the public quite a bit.
What's the license for? What?
So
Approval is for?
when we bought the software, when we first had the software developed, we had somebody go out locally and take photographs of different types of landscapes. And in the software, you'll see these photographs and you can click on the plant and it'll tell you what the plant is. And if you want it, it'll populate a shopping list, so to speak, that you can print out and take with you to go purchase the plants.
Okay, because I've had a piece of paper in my stack of things I don't throw away, which I found about a year ago, and I remember putting it in the stack. And it was the Water District put out it was a paper list of, regional.
The drought tolerant,
nature-
yes.
Natural, growth or, variety of that. It was a big list. I thought it was an amazing big list. So this is where we find that information these days.
This is where it's pretty and you can print out your shopping list. So yes.
Okay, great. No, that answers the question. Also a piece of paper. So.
It's a good one.
Okay, any other comments on this one?
No, except I just had a question. So we approved it in February, it's gonna come up again in March, and we're just doing it way in advance.
Yeah.
All right,
Your motion?
Move approval.
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Item 4, on to item 5. Advertising.
And this item is to request authorization for, actually, and that one has a typo as well, because the cost estimate should say 40,000, not 5,000 on it. So this item is to request $40,000 for advertising costs for fiscal year 24-25. That includes our branding ads that are run in the Weekly and the Pine Cone, as well as several other, there's an additional 4 ads for each of those different publications, as well as the advertising costs for the summer splash that you'll be considering later. And this is an item that actually is new this year. I haven't done this before because what we've done in the past is just because it was part of the budget, we've just run a PO. But with Michelle here, I wanted to make sure that we got this before the board. And so what we'll do upon approval is prepare a purchase order that will cover us for the entire year for our advertising costs.
Do we run this through outreach, or this is unrelated to the outreach committee?
It's somewhat related, but it's not anything, and we're not talking about any specific ads. It's just, this is what we spend on an annual basis for these advertisements.
And it's the same amount every year.
It's pretty much the same amount every year.
So the cost estimate is 40,000 instead of 5,000?
It's 40,000 instead of 5,000, yes. And it is in the budget.
No, I remember it.
And that
Yeah.
responds to my question mark. I had just a question mark
Yeah.
on the numbers.
I'll move to approve unless there's other questions.
I have no other questions.
No
You okay?
question. I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
I make sure the typo is,
I'll make
As
sure.
noted.
if it's 5,000, I'm gonna approve it for 5,000.
Yes.
I'm gonna pull it and approve it like that too. So, okay. Thank you.
I know we already voted on it, but the summer splash, is this the only place that's addressed in this document, summer splash?
There's an actual item for summer splash in here.
Okay, I thought I had a
Yeah.
question about it, and I didn't see it here. and that's
Yeah,
why-
it's one of the last
It's
items.
later. Okay. Okay, item number 6 is a contract with CoreLogic.
And CoreLogic is, again, our annual approval. We use what's called RealQuest to obtain information about property transfers of title and to get copies of grant deeds for our deed restriction preparation. And so on an annual basis, this is we have a monthly subscription with them. And that comes to a total of 25,000 for the fiscal year.
You know, a lot of lawyers I know subscribe to something like this to get access to recorded documents in the county. I just don't know if they spend anywhere in this range or not as part of their subscription.
Well, we use we use this program daily, 8 hours a day. I mean, it's something that's constantly
So it's
used.
unlimited, it's not a per transaction.
They do charge us for document transactions, but we're not always using it to produce documents.
Right, just to pull them up.
Right, but we do get charged extra when we do pull up the documents. But this has been an ongoing expense and it hasn't really changed in the last 30 years.
No, I understand. I'm curious if it's competitive with the other services out there that are performed.
I think we actually did look into, we looked into trying to get direct access through the county records and found that this really was the best service that we could get to be able to obtain what we need.
It's labor intensive by somebody.
Somebody, not us. Yeah.
And we're a regulatory agency too, that maybe is another.
We have to confirm
Explanation.
ownership of property. We absolutely have to. And so this is a service that is essential. And yeah,
No, Fran, I'm 100%. I just know that I would be surprised if the
Yeah.
attorneys I know that have similar services
Mhm.
that do checks on this spend this much, but maybe based on the number of transactions. we're
right, the
running,
volume that we do,
And it's also, I think we have 5 licenses, 5 or 6 licenses. So we have that many people coming in all the time and using it.
Cool.
Was there a comment from Maureen? Were you, okay. Okay, well, is there a motion on this one?
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye, please.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. It's good, these little questions that, just to clarify, just an understanding. One thing to know there's a contract and a cost, but why are we doing it? What does it do? You know, how complicated is it?
And when you said licenses, that means basically users.
Yeah.
How many users there are.
Right, logins, yeah.
Good, okay. Item number 7 is another contract.
Now, I wanted to say something to Director Riley's point. If you may notice, some of these estimates are below 25,000. So as per our purchasing policy, we aren't required to come in front of the board, but as a matter of transparency and information for the public and to have, relevant discussion, we thought it would be prudent to bring these items in front of the committee.
So go back and remind us of what the rule is. Contract.
Solicitations or contracts above 25,000 require board approval. Anything below could be done at the staff level and be signed by the general manager. So some of those contracts have been below 25,000, and you'll see more in the succeeding.
Right,
Well,
so,
right, I mean, even the next item, 7, for example,
Yeah,
I mean, it says 60,000, but I mean, it's not a $60,000 contract. It depends on your usage. I
exactly.
mean, you probably wouldn't even need to get approval under our new guidelines for that as well.
60,000, is that the construction, or let's see, 60,000,
It's for recordation fees.
okay,
It just seems to me that that's just
yeah.
a bunch of little items.
Anything above 25,000 would generally require board approval, if it's a professional services contract. This one,
Is not a.
is
it's
about
not a-
that.
It's
Contract.
just,
Yeah.
It's a little nickel and dime. It's a lot of nickel and dimes. All right, so I need to jump in.
that's okay, no, and
Chairman Riley, go ahead.
I do a little round loop as well. So is there a
That's
motion
fine.
to approve this?
What are we on?
No, I haven't even told you about this one yet, have I?
7,
7, I thought we were getting all the information from.
Pretty much. No,
Okay.
this is where we actually record deed restrictions. And so we require access to water records with every permit we issue. That is our cost. That was the board's decision to eat that cost. And then any other deed restriction that is recorded because they put in high efficiency fixtures, the applicant pays that cost. So that's where it's partly reimbursable. But the total, we had to come back at mid-year because we recorded so many documents last year. So this year, yeah, so we're just upping it slightly this year to 60,000.
Is that for, then those are for the deed restrictions?
Mhm.
And that was because, what?
Just busier than previous years, I guess.
It's deed restrictions, when people come to the front counter, it's also water distribution systems. And we've had a lot of activity on that front too. Yeah, if you look at, if in your board packet, when you see the, is that the conservation report?
Yeah.
And they tell you how many permits have been issued, how many inspections and people who failed and they go back. I mean, a lot of that generates more permits for us. And water distribution systems have been incredibly busy last year, this year, and more complex. So a lot of recording.
And sometimes a lot of emotion.
Do we have enough staff? I mean, are we?
No, this is really a great service because before we had this, which we literally can do at our desktops. Prior to that, we actually had to get the deed restrictions and get them all ready and cut a check and have a courier take it over to Salinas and bring back the
Super
copy.
efficient.
So this is much more efficient, yes. And this happens in, you can have it in 5 minutes sometimes. So it's,
Amazing.
yeah, it is.
That's amazing.
And we were not a blockage, but we were a hurdle to a lot of this, like 8 years ago or
Mhm.
something rather, weren't we?
We are very much more efficient than we were then, yes.
I remember it being discussed. I'm sitting out there.
Mhm.
Up here.
partial reimbursement. I would like, and I think the public would like to know how much is that partial reimbursement.
So it does vary because,
Even though it does vary, in your reporting, when we talk about getting reimbursed, we need to come up with a number that we're getting reimbursed, so we can
A
see
number.
that
A number for what?
for the reimbursement.
Well, my.
Is it
understanding
50% or?
well, it is part of.
Is that 40% of 60,000? Is that what the report says?
Yeah, then that's what your budget has in it.
Yeah.
Right, but my understanding is, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
is that some recordings are not reimbursable at all.
Right.
And others are 100% reimbursable.
Right.
But it adds up to, the average is about 40.
Yeah, when I see partial reimbursement, I just want to know how much are we getting? We're paying 60,000 out, but y'all say partial reimbursement, is that 20,000 we getting back from doing this, or is it 15,000? Just to see the number. The public know that we're spending 60,000 and we say we're gonna be reimbursed, how much are we being
Don't
reimbursed?
they show up in the budgets?
It should show up in the budget, but I think these are actual reimbursements. So depending on the number processed, we would get a percentage. So let's say if the average is 40,000, then we would get 24,000 in reimbursements
Right.
Yeah,
for 60,000.
that's what,
Yeah.
the public would
Yeah, well, that's-
read, or I like to see, okay, so
Yeah.
I could say, we're getting 24,000 back, it's worth it. If I'm getting 10,000 back, I'm paying out 60,000,
Mhm.
I have a little problem there, so.
Definitely just ask, just do the math in the narrative.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
the staff
sure.
note itself
Just
can.
come up with a number and put it.
Yeah, all your data's there, just.
I can do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. We can pull the actuals.
I know it's a little bit of extra work, but it's more transparent to the public. So, and we're good at that, being transparent.
And I remember that vaguely when we were looking at the bylaw, the ordinance, when we were looking at fees, which one, this was not that long ago, it was about 6 months ago.
It was probably a year ago, yeah.
We were talking about what's gonna be reimbursable, we
Mhm.
just made a policy decision that will eat certain ones and other ones.
Mhm.
Yeah, that came up recently, so.
Okay, George, slowing down. Any more comments?
Nope,
Do we have a motion?
move approval.
I'll second for a change. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0.
I was able to pull up information for this year. So far, we have received $48,620 in recording fees.
Reimbursements.
Yeah, revenue that has come in.
And there was a higher number.
And the budget was, we started the year with 25,000 in budget, did an amendment for, so the revised budget for recording fees is 60,000 this year, and we received 48,000 approximately.
Big difference.
Yeah.
25 to 60.
And this information is good to know, and we can sell it better. So good job, thank you.
It was quick.
Hold that number for me.
That's why I have the financial assistant plugged in.
What a success, really, think about it, that we can be this efficient, we don't need to have more staff,
Oh, yeah.
that's amazing.
All right, very good. So we continue to be educated too. Item number 8, the contract with Pueblo Water. They've been around a long time, I think.
Exactly. Now, this is an annual amendment to a contract with Pueblo. If we ever need them, they're there for us. Has to do with water distribution systems. I do not recall ever having used these guys, but we do want to keep them available to us in case we need it. So it's a very small $2,000 contract each year.
And I see this 2,000 is reimbursable by 100%.
Yes.
Good, that's what I like to
Yeah.
read, good.
Any questions beyond so far?
Move approval.
I may have a question. But I want to know
Okay.
oh, no, I remember. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0.
Now, this goes back to 2006.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know why. Side trip. Okay, item number 8. Item number 9.
Item number 9 is the adoption of the update to the capacity fee. Every year, the fee is updated with the CPI, and so we adopt the table that shows the history of our fees. For 24-25, the capacity fee would be $36,350, and that is up from $35,019 this fiscal year. Per acre foot, yes.
And this is an annual, we do this annually.
We do this annually, yes.
Are we required to do it annually or we choose to do it?
No, rules and regulations require that it be done annually.
Why are we doing it now?
It's done July 1st for each fiscal year.
It's a fiscal year.
Yeah, and what the fees, the capacity fee is what is charged for water permits.
Right. It's straightforward to me.
I think Dave at a previous conversation was saying this is like a connection fee.
It used to be considered, yeah, we used to call it the connection charge. We've changed it to capacity fee.
You're synonymous.
Yeah.
Under Rule 11, you'll see that.
Okay. Those of us who go to bed with the rules. So we know them all. Okay, I'm just curious, do we annually update the fee structure we have for our various things? Is there a reason why we wouldn't do something annually?
We don't necessarily do that. I mean, I guess we did it last fiscal year. I think at the June meeting last year. But I don't think we had anything that needed attention this year that we were aware of. And it's not just my office, but it's, everybody at the district uses that table. So, I mean, we can put it on our list of things to look at and talk about at some point, but.
Is this driven by the rules and regulations? Do they dictate how frequently the
No.
fees could be up? Okay.
Well, I'm not so much concerned about the fee structure or the fee application and whether they're updated annually or not. Some utilities get into trouble when they don't raise their rates on a regular basis. And they think they're doing the public a nice service when they say, we won't change the rates for this year, and then next year, and then the next year, and the next year, and then suddenly, holy shit, when it's time to raise the rates, it's a huge impact on the ratepayers.
Right.
So that's why I like this incremental approach,
Yeah.
even though it's maybe small, it's still.
And Director Riley, I think you make a good point. And I think, Michelle, when we find out what our, it's because a lot of the fees are based on hourly costs, which includes salary costs and various things like that. So we may want to take a look at it again at some point. We did it last year, so it's not out of date that much at this point.
Right, and I think every other year or something is fine, but it's just a concern I have, but mainly it's the rate structure that I'm talking about. Okay, so increase the capacity fee as usual. Is there a motion? I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. Okay, item number 10.
Now we're gonna learn about
There's my splash
summer
question.
splash.
There's the fun. So we are looking at doing our 5th Summer Splash giveaway. This was the program we started during the lockdown to get some activities for families and people related to conservation. Last year, with the help of Wellman Ad, we had a huge level of participation. And so I think that given that it was a good program, we've updated the questions that people are going to, so there are questions and videos, and you have to answer questions on the game board to get entered in to win our fabulous prizes. And anyway, so we're pretty much running the program as we did last year with an updated game board. The cost is $15,000. That will be split with Cal-Am, because this is a joint outreach effort. And I think our prizes are the same prizes that we kind of had done last year, which was the high efficiency clothes washer, an iPad, and 4 $50 Visa gift cards. You have any questions?
Yes, no, you answered one of them was, do we update the questions or do we change the questions
Yes.
this year? Or at least change the order of them so people
Yes.
don't look whatever they.
Yeah, no, we go back through and look and find new questions.
Okay, that's really good. Now, a real question is, we jumped from below 100 to almost 500 in 1 year. You know, and I know it's advertising and so on, and great for all that. But couldn't we increase the number of prizes we give?
I was gonna piggyback on that. I think this is a very low budget, to be honest,
Mhm.
for this event. It's an annual event, right? Have we thought about increasing the budget on this? Get more advertising, more word out, and maybe some more prizes?
We could certainly look at that, of course.
I mean, is that,
So what I've done at this point was include the advertising costs, the print advertising costs in that previous advertising budget. But if you think that we should perhaps increase this to get more participation, yeah, we can look at increasing the budget before it comes to the board.
I'll take,
Or make an amendment at
No,
mid-year.
there's four prizes. The high efficiency clothes washer, an iPad, and four $50 gift cards.
the reason why I thought, one of the things is, I understand we announced the winners on the Facebook page. But we could also take out more advertising post event
We could do that.
in the periodicals. I think this is a fabulous sort of nonpartisan way to sort of get message out. I think this is a very small budget for an annual event like this.
So since we're talking about it and we're gonna have to adjust this, how much you think? What, 25,000?
I do.
25,000?
I think it would be nice to do some kind of post-event advertising
Okay.
besides the Facebook. I mean, it's just me. I don't know.
But we do take photos of the, when they
Yeah,
come
exactly.
in.
And
So,
then we can create a collage and do a post besides the
Mhm.
Facebook, because going back to an outreach committee,
Right.
we had a meeting not that long ago, apparently
Instagram and.
Facebook's not doing
Right.
well
Yeah.
for us. And so I thought that was sort of a letdown to see that the post event is on Facebook.
And the annual report, yeah, the annual report had it also.
Right, and that may be between a little bit, the 25 versus 15 would be not only some post-event advertising and or beefing up the pre-event advertising to get a lot more important
Mhm.
something, but then maybe another, dishwasher. Yeah, we could also beef up some. of
So
the-
what's your number? What's your
In my
number?
mind, I'm estimating 25, but I mean, you.
We could say up to 25. We'll look at what we might do to increase the
And I
outreach
don't
on
know
it.
if that's rough for your budgeting purpose.
No, at this point, I would call it small potatoes. It won't change the proposed budget at this point. We will look at actual spending, and if something needs to be adjusted, we could do that at mid-year.
I'm not saying not to put it on Facebook, I'm just saying,
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Well, I would really
And then the
like to get-
follow-up
I would
also.
love to get your feedback on this, the post, what do you think?
No, I think that's a great idea.
And maybe to get just even a little more aggressive.
Well, and it might be maybe extending the time for somebody so we could run the advertising a little longer.
if you
Right.
can, that would be
Yeah.
great.
It was good, but one question, since you're working with Cal Am, and we don't want to think that we
Oh, yeah, because
Pushing
it's
this
going
on.
to split, do
Yeah.
we need to check with?
I'll
you?
check with
check with Cal Am and, make the adjustments and.
Yeah, and it may be if they don't have, if they can't match our split on this, that
Right,
it
right.
goes out
They
of the
can't,
description.
they need to let us know so we can.
Right.
Let the public know that your
That's
water bill is
surprising.
still going up.
Would that surprise you that they wouldn't want to?
No, I think they would be participating.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the thing I'm just gonna not jump in here in
Yeah,
full
not
support
much.
yet.
No.
The large number we got last year was because the first time the Wellman ad went into the weekly, that's, I don't remember where else it went, but that was the first time it showed up in that promotion, I think.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, and that may account for the large number. So maybe increasing what we do may not be necessary. It's just dealing with the numbers. That's what I was really concerned about. If we went from, under 100 to well over 400, just in 1 year, it was probably because it was well advertised.
Yeah.
Well
It
received.
was well advertised, but I also think that, giving out more prizes.
That's where I think we ought to increase.
Give out more prizes. The advertisement was great because they had I looked at it in weekly and it looked like the thing was moving along pretty well. So this one, I agree
I
with.
mean, I think we could maybe, just for me personally, I think we could do better than $50 on the Visa card.
Okay.
Maybe.
Well,
I don't know. Are people motivated?
I agree with you. I think we ought to increase the price.
Yeah, okay.
Tally.
But I like to
But
see,
not too much, because I think the
Right.
dishwasher is the big kahuna, right? So
Right.
that's-
Clothes wash.
but
Clothes washer, right.
Dishwasher.
instead of 4,
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they're so expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't want the Visa stuff to go anywhere near the value of
Right.
the appliance, but I think.
But you could go up to $100 versus,
easily,
yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
But I like to see more given out.
Me too.
Yeah.
So if it was only 4 for $50, you know, I don't care if it's 8 for $25 or, you know,
Yeah.
is 10, 15.
You'll see it in the staff note for the board packet.
Okay, I'll make sure I read
Just take more
that.
money would be great. You think you can get an answer from Callan between now and the board?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I would just say there's always a caveat with them. It's subject to approval
Yeah.
from the PUC. That's standard, cover your, you know what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're not worried about that,
Well-
are you, Fran? Okay.
Well, I think the district can take a little bit more care of it, because we can push this on.
Yeah.
Because, you know,
So it doesn't matter.
if they can't help,
No.
we understand, but we're gonna move on this one. Because it was pretty good last year.
You know, and I mean, if they're splitting it, you might even go up to 30, it's even 15 each, but I don't know if you need it. I just like the idea of doing some post-event advertising, because I just think that anchors the result. And allows us to share the participation.
There's good questions on ASR and stuff, so yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I support 25,000 motion with some.
I'll second it.
Expand the maybe advertising and particularly the gift
Yeah.
side.
Stephanie, do we need a more precise direction from board in terms of, is it $800 gift cards or so that we can
I
update the
just
staff
made,
out?
you know,
Or is that left to the staff?
I think they left it to staff.
yeah,
No
well,
better.
bigger bang for the buck, whatever y'all come out with. I don't care if you lower it.
We support the program.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
program
support that
and
program.
budget.
Yeah, I don't care if you lower it or up it or whatever, y'all.
Just make it good.
Make it good for everybody. Make it, you know, more prizes, more
You
people
know, Signing
participate.
for $100 gift card for a lot of people.
That's a
really
big
worth-
deal, yeah.
I
It's
know.
really worth the thing.
And the parents might be pushing their kids. So I'll split it with you. The parents. Okay. Is there a motion?
I move as amended to $25,000 budget.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. One quick question. Monterey Bay Parent
That's a magazine.
magazine for schools only?
It's one of those free magazines that lists all the summer programs and things that people can do with their families down in this area.
Okay.
So we advertise there as well.
I just don't see it, but maybe I don't notice it. I see it and I go.
Yeah, I remember seeing it when I had young children.
Yeah, I remember it too. Same as I.
Yeah.
Okay, item 11, mulch madness.
Okay, Mulch Madness is another joint Cal-Am district conservation program where we have partnered with Topes Garden Center and will provide 2 cubic yards of free mulch to district and Cal-Am customers. And then they can get a discounted price on any additional mulch that they want to purchase. We have done this program, I believe this might be 2 years now, so this might be running into the 3rd year. We are proposing only a slight change for this year, which is to allow someone to be able to participate each year rather than just one time. Because mulch breaks down on an annual basis, it has to be replenished. And we want people to have mulch because it saves water. So we'd like to just continue the program and also allow them to participate each year. And so this year, we've budgeted up to $12,000 for this program.
So this is a silly question. Do you have a choice about the type of mulch? Because I gotta tell you, in my house, we went from chips to gorilla hair. Oh my gosh, gorilla hair is so much longer lasting.
Yeah, really?
It is. I don't know if there's enough.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what the mulch is that they get,
Yeah.
but
Wood chips. I mean, it's all wood chips.
yeah, it's some type of wood chip.
But some of them are dyed or something, or I don't know
Yeah.
how they get
The
black. and-
Gorilla hair is probably very expensive compared to just wood
I
chips.
don't know. Gorilla hair is just redwood pulp.
Yeah.
That's been
But
shredded.
this is all local
Yeah,
product that we're
Yeah.
looking at here, so.
anyway.
So what do we pay, what do we pay for mulch? What, is there a rate that we pay, but the public gets it free?
Yeah, I think it is.
So it's normally $35 a cubic yard. It's less.
No, $20 per cubic
25.
yard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's actually pretty good.
Oh, there it is,
Yeah.
discounted, heavily
Yeah.
discounted.
It's great. I moved to approve
I'll second it.
with the change that it's a recurring.
Yeah, and that's in the staff report. So,
I'll second it, and next year, maybe y'all can look at increasing this one.
if we can get the participation, that's,
Yeah, and I think the
That was like-
participation been pretty good.
Mhm.
So we need to look at in next year and increasing this one.
Okay.
Since we doing summer splash, increasing this.
So we haven't used up the 12 grand from last year.
we're close this year.
Oh,
Yeah, we're close, but we also haven't done a lot of advertising. So,
More advertising.
exactly.
Because that,
What about? This is the advantage of partnering, right? What about,
Well, this is, Cal-Am does participate with us and they do their email blast because they have a really good email list. We now have a really good email
what
list.
about Topes? They can have.
And Topes can advertise, but again, it's just for the peninsula. So the garden center is actually over in Salinas area.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so if they advertise,
Uh,
yeah, you just want to make sure that the advertising is on the peninsula.
So while we're on advertising, something occurred to me the other day, and this is a good opportunity. When the district puts its quarter page ad or something, and I tend to find it in the weekly for sure. Why not just a box of something's different? It's different than the main message, a separate message, but it's boxed in a way that kind of calls attention to it. So anyway, just a thought.
Okay.
We had a motion and a second, I
I
believe.
think so.
yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Item number 12.
And this
as
is
needed.
my last one.
I'm glad you grouped all yours together.
I was happy about that too. So this is asking for recommendation to authorize a contract, and again, this is a very small contract, $10,000 with eTech Consulting for as-needed maintenance of our Excel database. And this Excel database is where we operate all of our permits, rebates, conservation program, et cetera. Every time we have a rule change, we have to have eTech come in and make small adjustments so that it works the way it's supposed to. So we have this kind of on-call contract that we've had since we got this going. They will provide up to 57 hours, $175 an hour as needed. So it's something we just pay when we need it, and if we spend it, we do.
Can we include the contract with the board meeting? Is it a written
Yeah, I think
contract, or
there's
is
a,
it just an email confirmation?
you know, I'll check. Let me check, because I don't know the answer to that.
Maybe they have a standard licensing agreement that we sign every year. That could be included. We can look into that.
Yeah.
That was my only question. Move to approve.
Second,
On the question, I have one question about the rebate program. Stephanie goes back to our little dialogue. Do we, somebody gets a rebate, 15 years ago and kapui, and can they get a renewal or what?
Oh, you didn't see my email to you then?
No, I just.
Okay, so yes, they can get a second rebate for the clothes washer after 8 years and for toilets and dishwashers after 10 years.
Okay, so they can, okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right. No, I didn't catch up with that.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Item number 12. Okay, item number 13. Is this
You've
Maureen?
been doing a pretty good job sitting in that chair.
John is not.
Yeah, I don't see John on here.
He's not. I've had it. All right.
Hello.
The first item is to request the finance committee to consider a negotiated contract with a licensed well driller for repairs at ASR as needed. Our responsibility is to operate the ASR program in injection mode. We additionally are required to collect data and report on ASR performance to the State Water Board. All of our work in that is reimbursable from Calian with our ASR operations and maintenance agreement. And given the enrollment in the Public Construction Cost Accounting Act, all contracts under 60,000 can be by negotiated contract or purchase order. So we're requesting that the committee consider approving $50,000 to hire a driller as needed for ASR repairs.
And that's without needing to identify the contractor just yet.
You got it.
Just authorize.
Whoever's available, we have two great local contractors who are always low bid. And if one of them's, up at the border with Oregon, we call the other one.
Okay.
You have contracts with both of them as it turns out, or just as needed? How does that work?
I'm sorry?
Is it as?
It's
needed?
as needed.
Oh, absolutely, as needed. It's
Yeah.
if there's an emergency and we have to get it fixed right
And
now.
this line item, does that match the line item in the budget as 50,000?
It should. I'm looking at the staff report. I think there's a minor discrepancy in the cost estimate versus the text. So the
There it
text says 60,000 and we could enter into a contract up to 60,000. And the budget would be based on whatever we end up spending eventually. So this is just a contractual approval up to that amount,
Well, it's a pre-authorization. so-
pre-authorization.
Yeah.
So,
So is it 60 or 50?
It will make it 60. Yeah,
And that's what we're budgeted for?
I will check, but it should match. I think this is under the 400,000 budget that we had for the rehabilitation of the two wells. Or I'll have to look into it. Or maybe this is other than
It
that.
would have, I think it would have been called out as a line item.
Okay.
so
Just if I can look at
Fran, is it okay to do this, or should we put, even though it's an as-needed driller, out for bid? What I'm trying to, you send an as-needed project with a public agency, should we advertise it as needed driller, or I know it's gonna cost some more?
We don't have to. if it's
We
under
don't,
60,000.
well,
Yeah, according to this policy in the act, we need not do a public notification process or a public bid. It's not required per policy, but if staff wants to go above and beyond and do it, that can be done on a case-by-case basis.
I just look at it as the public agency where we got this thing on the wall for being transparent. So,
If I may, I think the
Yeah.
concern with this is that if we're bringing a driller in to repair something, we need to get it fixed in a really timely manner. The cost of going out to bid, besides the time factor, you've got advertising, document preparation, their time. And at a $60,000 level, especially if this ends up being, maybe a $15,000 job, just to bring the pump truck in, pull the pump and reset.
That sort of brings up another issue, because even if it were more than 60,000, there's the emergency exception to going out to bid.
There is.
And
Yes,
so
yeah.
I'm sort of asking, why is this even something we need to do at all?
For
Because
budgeting.
if it was an emergency, you could just hire these folks anyway.
Absolutely. We just want to put it in the budget somewhere because probably about every other year we end up calling on
right,
it.
well,
Okay.
I like it, I agree, I just want to make sure that we're covered, that people don't come up where you standing up and say, you didn't put that out to bid, what's going on here?
Well, if your new policy is, up to 60,000, they don't have to.
Number one. And
Number
two-
one, and then you have the emergency, and you've already dealt with one
Yeah,
of
we
those last
did,
month
we
or the
did
month
the emergency
before.
one, we
Yes.
dealt with it, I
Because
understand
it was
that,
more major, yeah.
okay,
But Alvin, that's what this is. right?
Okay,
This
yeah.
is an emergency.
and I was asked, we got somebody on board, I like this, it's on an as-needed basis.
It's pre-authorization.
Yeah.
for an
Exactly.
Emergency, which we don't need to do, except it's nice to have it in the budget.
Right. And that's your transparency, you're showing it in the
Right,
budget. If
okay.
someone says, well, you didn't put that out to bid, no. And
Let me
here's the
count the ways
background.
why we don't need to. and
We didn't see you at the finance committee meeting.
That's right, exactly.
And when it was approved by the board at the June meeting.
All right,
Okay,
so as amended to 60,000, I move to approve.
second it,
All right, then on the question, I'm looking at the one reimbursable, I'm playing Alvin here. Is it reimbursable because it's in the rate structure for Cal-Am to buy the water out of the ASR or?
Yes, it's their water supply, so they
Okay,
pay
I
the
just
cost
wanted
to
to
operate
confirm
and
that.
maintain.
Okay, it's in the rate structure for the water, but it's Cal-Am's role to do that.
And you would try and do the same CPUC, it's not a CPUC. It,
The same caveat I would
Same
give you
caveat.
until they get formal approval.
Right.
You know, when the final decision is approved at the commission meeting. At that point, then they move the monies into rates. And at that point, they're happy to cut checks.
interesting.
You know.
Standard procedure for them. Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Okay, item number 14. This whole series now, right? We're in a section for ASR, aren't we? I mean, a section of the agenda.
With the Water Resources Division, the next series of items.
Okay.
So the ASR program has developed over decades. Cal-Am owns one site, we own another site. We both have projects going on at the same time with overlapping schedules and unfortunately overlapping design. During the last major project we did, which was construction of the chemical building at Santa Margarita, our electrical engineer, who we've used in the design of both sites over the decades, retired.
Selfish.
We're a public, so I'll watch what he probably didn't want to. So we have, as he was retiring and as we were installing or getting ready to construct the chemical building, he made the comment that if we want to install any other electrical or power consuming facilities, we'd need a new PG&E drop. Getting a PG&E drop is at best 18 months, and at worst, I would say 2.5 years, depending on what you're ordering. We'd probably be on the lighter side of that. So I think we need to get a new electrical firm in-house with a couple of licensed electrical engineers. I issued requests for qualification to 4 firms who I know work in the area. 3 responded. Of the 3, TJC and Associates was ranked the highest. They've been in business since 1996. They have 3 offices in Northern California, 6 licensed electrical engineers on site. They have an impressive experience, in their summary of qualifications and recommendations from local public agencies are glowing. So I'm requesting to bring them on for about 4 weeks of time to take a look at our electrical system. Do we need a new PG&E drop? Some of the things that have been constructed were actually removed when the chemical building was built. And once they get a look at our system and can see where we are, we'll have a good idea of what's needed in the future. And then once we've got somebody on board, as these issues involving power consumption come up, we have somebody to run those designs through. So I'm requesting that the committee recommend the board authorize entering into a contract with TJC in a time and materials amount not to exceed $45,000, hopefully over a total contract time of 3 years. I'm cheap.
I've heard nothing but horror stories about PG&E and responding to, power drop.
I had to lean on the electrical engineer to not require a new drop for that chemical building we did. And if we had, we wouldn't have had ASR 3 be able to go into production when ASR 1 was taken offline. So it's been a wild ride. I'm really grateful that he was able to bend a little bit, but I'm also understanding that we've got to get somebody in to take a look at it.
Well, you did all the work for it. That just goes back to that as needed. So this is what, that's what I'm talking about, what you just did for future as needed projects. out front. I move approval.
I have a question.
Please.
So, well, we don't have these numbers, but on page 93 of their statement of qualifications, addresses
Yes,
and last page, really,
I think it's the one I didn't print out, but please.
this one here. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
So I can just tell you they're located out of Sacramento, Walnut, and Oak Office. Now, the boots on the ground folks. They're coming. I mean, I guess it was like, you know. I mean, there's a lot of travel time, and it's always a problem with this, right? Because when we go out of county, it's a lot of travel time. And I understand why we're out of county, we're a very small county. Is that an issue here? I didn't see the billing for travel time over costs.
I'm sure the travel time is definitely extra. There was one firm, it was included. Because they're all over and with COVID, it's difficult to ask where someone's coming
So
from.
it could be remote.
Yeah, because you get real personal real fast. I do know that the lady I'm working with, Eileen Nakamura, I know where she's located. It's in state, it's within driving distance. In terms of residents in the peninsula, they have one principal engineer who's retiring to the peninsula. And yeah, and while he's retiring, they said, oh, he's available to come by. Now, that's not written down in the contract anywhere.
About it. I mean, we have a lot of vendors that are from out of county, right? But I'm just wondering if we knew.
And from my perspective, I want more than just one licensed engineer. We need somebody who can carry on the continuity when I go.
Well, they're closer than Southern California.
Yes, and they're not out of state and they're not on the East Coast.
I'll second.
Comment for me, that explains the 100 pages of documentation because we've never used it.
She did all the work up front.
Well, she put it out for bid.
Well, I know, but I mean,
Yeah.
I was wondering why 100 pages?
Now I can trim back. Good question. I included I looked back through that and realized I didn't cut out the structural engineer stuff. You know, I don't want to look like I'm removing some of their qualifications for either us or the public or the firm. Is it easier if I just
You
cut
can
out
put
all
a
the
page-
structural?
I would suggest
link?
for the budget, for the board meeting, I just insert a page that said structural engineer data omitted.
Oh, okay. That's a
one
great
page
idea.
Instead of 30.
Also, she could put a link to it, Maureen, on our website.
I guess whatever you all would
We're
prefer.
not using any structural services.
We're trying to save a tree,
Yes.
so, but
Oh, and yes, Sarah, you'll be getting a bill from my law firm. I printed.
I was waiting to hear back from you Friday.
I told you, no, I'll do it. And this is,
Okay,
this is
very
two-sided.
we want to keep the transparency in, but we're trying to save a tree.
I know you did.
So you want a link, no link?
Oh, well,
Just don't print 100 pages.
yeah, you know,
Not just on the page you say have been omitted, but here's a link for the information.
right.
Okay.
I don't think you need to, honestly. If we're not retaining them for the structural services, why do we even need to put it out there?
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I can work with you
Mr.
on
Chair, may I ask a question?
You may.
Thank you. Maureen, my question is this, while they're evaluating our electrical needs, will they also be considering the possibility of an additional ASR well?
I don't know that they'll be considering that at this time. If that project moves forward, we will definitely have an idea of what would be required to do that.
Okay, thank you.
That will inform that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, my quick comment was, and I don't remember what section of the report it was in, but it looked like they had a staff with considerable diversity, which was kind of appealing to me, just nice to see. But they may have been all structural engineers for all I know.
No, they were really electrical engineers. Yeah.
Okay, so any more, that explains the the volume of paper. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. So now over to, okay, go through a tree and then come to item
I'm so
15.
sorry.
157.
I felt guilty, like, taking pages out and,
You did a good job.
well,
You're doing the right thing by putting it all in so we can
Okay.
tell you what to
Take it
take out.
okay.
So
Well, that's the
you-
other thing, even if it's not included in the general board meeting, it's online in this, in the finance and administration.
as long as we cover it, and you covered it.
Okay.
Good job.
So the next item is to request a contract with Schaff and Wheeler to provide drawing support services. Same issue with ASR having evolved over time with overlapping schedules. I think in the time that I've been here, up until we got the chemical building done, it's always been, we still have to finish ASR, we still have to finish ASR. It wasn't just the 4 ASR wells. We knew we needed a water treatment facility. We knew we needed an expanded basin. And so that finally got done. And now all those fingers of small projects had to get integrated into, frankly, an up-to-date version of AutoCAD. Last year, I went out for proposals for drawing consultants. I think we only got 2 proposals in. And Schaff and Wheeler's local and was selected as the most qualified. I've worked with them on Pure Water Monterey. They're entrenched in the community here. We started out the drawing work last year and pretty quickly went through the 30,000 that was utilized in last year's budget. There was, and I'm gonna explain maybe more than I need to, because I know, especially as engineers, we like to throw around a lot of terms. All of the drawings are geo-referenced, so if you stick it on a map, you know where it is. If you geo-reference those drawings, if that was even an option on some older drawings version of AutoCAD, if you geo-reference them using different conversions, different spatial conversions, those drawings don't line up, and apparently ours didn't.
This was last year though, right?
This was last year, and that was quite a while to figure out what had been done and getting everything projected so that it had accurate scale.
So I remember that because I was on finance last year. I remember when this came up. And and we've exhausted that 30,000.
We've exhausted that.
And what's still remaining?
So what's still remaining, the 2 big items I included in the scope are really extending the georeferencing further down to get the various locations of valves. When we start up, you would think you just kind of open a valve. That General Jim Moore and the driveway into ASR, it's not that simple. It's pretty difficult. Things have changed, as well as at the middle school. And with the 2 new extraction wells that Cal-Am is starting construction this month, that's also going to affect how the system interconnects. Often at the start of ASR season, it's our guys, and this is Corey Steinmetz, he's also on the ASR team. It's our guys out there in the rain with a couple of Cal-Am guys. Really, you've commented trying to get the right valves open.
Right.
Because the documentation, multiple projects over the year.
That was my next question. So the real world benefit to getting expanded and updated GeoSync CADs would be what?
The ability to clearly identify which valves need to be open and which valves need to be closed, so you can perform what I'll call batch operations. We run ASR off and on, right? It's not a continuous operation. Performing those batch operations, because you're not doing it every day, are risky. And it can take time. And we don't want to give up on time when it comes to ASR water. It's the cheapest water supply we have that's not directly from a groundwater basin.
So how are we doing it without properly geosynced AutoCAD? I mean, how are you doing that? How do you?
So So currently, our team, the district's team operates the wells. We just know where all.
You just know.
wells are from John passing down knowledge to us. But there's been times because Cal-Am sends us the water and we open the valves of the wells. But before that point, there's different valves that need to be turned to actually get Cal-Am system to send water to us. And there's been times where sometimes we don't know where those valves are because Cal touches those valves. So there's been times where before we start operating, it's taking a whole morning for
Cal-Am gets it.
dig things out and figure out which valves can be turned. So those are the drawings that we really.
And you don't need Cal-Am. Once you have the right drawings, you could go in there yourself or you still.
They touch their distribution system, not us. Yeah, but they're working together to get everything going.
And just like the other items we looked at before, this is all reimbursed by Cal-Am.
This would not be. These are largely projects that both of us have done. A question could be made for the middle school because they own that site. Should they be reimbursing for those drawings? In my opinion, a lot of this work should have been done as the capital projects were being constructed. But I could be off on reimbursement there.
What I have learned in the general rate case is that virtually all of their design work is done by various consultants. And we have no control over what they're doing, other than they won't let you touch their stuff.
But can't we get reimbursement on joint?
I would start with looking at our ASR agreement between MPWMD and Cal-Am. I don't know off the top of my head. I don't look at it, that often. As far as reimbursement, with the history of ASR 1 and 2 being ours, owned and operated by the district, it's different than ASR 3 and 4.
Which is what we're talking about.
Yeah. Right, which is at the middle school, and the middle school is also the site where Cal-Am is going to put in what they're calling extraction wells 1 and 2. Now, that might be because the system, ASR 3 and 4 are they're gonna feed into those extraction wells for pure water Monterey or for everything?
They're for everything.
Everything, okay.
And the piping that's going down General Jim Moore, they'll just extend a little bit to the north and then turn left to get that spot in between the golf
And are they
course.
doing that, the piping that, if they are, I think it's an argument that can be made.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how the sausage could be made. Obviously, reviewing the ASR Cal-Am agreement seems to be appropriate. I don't know whose job that would be, but I'm simply saying, I have no problem approving this, and it's interesting to learn why it matters, but to get past that to see if we can't get reimbursement.
You can bring it all up at water supply.
And
ASR is under water supply, so you can have at it.
Okay.
And those questions.
if I may, so the operations and maintenance is that they reimburse for operations and maintenance, all capital work at the Santa Margarita site that we own, we're responsible for. So where does documentation of capital work fall? In my mind, it fell under
Maintenance.
capital, but I could be
I
wrong.
think it's maintenance because it's with, you rely on the post-project CAD drawings so that you can go in and maintain or use or you know what I'm saying?
But the way the projects evolved, especially with two different folks doing projects, we're now getting that post-project CAD drawing finalized. Because, you know, for 20 years, it was always, oh, we'll do it after this project. We'll do it after that project.
I'll just add in terms of the benefit, besides documentation for operational purposes, it's just good industry practice to have as-built drawings when a project is complete. So if any thing needs to be done after the fact, you know, the next general contractor can actually look at those as-bills and make changes if needed. So I think it's just good for the district to have those as-built drawings for future.
I'd just like to see if we can get them reimbursed as well.
Yeah.
I hear you. I'll do some research.
Also, if somebody's going to be late to the table on fixing something or in the process of doing something. I'd rather it be Cal-Am and not us. So let's us get ahead of the game to the extent that we have the information. We know what we're doing. We know, we have the staff, they got the knowledge base, they got the information or whatever. And then if there's any delay or whatever complication there is, I don't want it to be on our side. I prefer if there's anything at all, let Cal-Am have that problem. We may have to deal with it later if things work out that way, but right now.
Well, and that's, middle school is also such an odd question that they've installed infrastructure. We hope to get it back one day, so we'd like to know what's in the ground there. Are they gonna tell us right now? I don't know.
Yeah, they might not share anything. I agree. I agree with them. I agree. I understand what they're doing. I'm saying I agree with them. Okay, did we have a motion on this? I don't remember.
No, move to approve.
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yes.
I mean, Fran, I hope it's not a rabbit hole to try to figure out if there's a really reasonable argument to be made for reimbursement. It's only 30,000, but I mean, it'd be nice to get it.
I'll give my standard answer, assuming the contract is clear. Then we can certainly make the request.
And
After the commission has made their formal decision.
Well, and the other thing is, it doesn't sound like Cal-Am's necessarily resistant to making a reimbursement. They'll just run it through their next GRC, aren't they?
It's a matter of contract, I can assure you of that.
Yeah.
That if they're not obligated under the contract, they're not going to be volunteering. And right now, their focus is more on their extraction wells for Pure Water Monterey expansion. And ASR is a stepchild in comparison. We get lip service. So that's being as candid as I can be.
I appreciate that.
But I will do some research and I'll try to get back to you before you finalize. When is the staff note due for the board meeting?
Thursday.
Yeah, it would have to be no later than Thursday morning.
Thank you, sir.
By the way, going back to item 14, same question with the electrical engineering. Is that reimbursable? No.
I think we're looking at understanding what we have and what we may need to have going forward. So I don't know how that's operations and maintenance.
And that's
really about
ASR.
Capital.
That's
Santa
ASR 1 and
Margarita.
2, isn't it?
Yeah.
Santa Margarita
It's not
site,
gonna
it's
be-
all on our back. Yeah.
Okay.
But there are advantages to that, quite frankly, and we have utilized them in the past. This is our operation.
Sure.
You don't have access.
That's
whatever.
right.
So,
All right, so up to 16.
Very good. On to 16.
16, this is authorizing laboratory services to support the ASR work that we do. Again, we have to not only operate it, but we pull data and report on it per our permits. We do collect data for the water master that we get reimbursed for. And we have collected Carmel Valley Alluvial Aquifer water quality monitoring for years for several different reasons. One is, just to check salinity, groundwater intrusion, even in that long east to west river. We want to be on top of any potential septic issues, which we haven't found to date. And then when people want to construct wells that are near the alluvial aquifer but may not be within them, groundwater testing can be done to determine if it's the same type of water. That's also reimbursed. So we're requesting $30,000 to support our monitoring and reporting requirements, as well as our rules and regulations in the Carmel Valley Alluvial Aquifer. Are there any questions?
So when do they complete this work?
I think it's ongoing.
Is it on? Yes, that's what I thought. Because the water master did an update back a few months ago. And I think John said ours is a little bit better. I don't think it's the updates. We don't see the updates.
On the modeling or
On
the
modeling.
seawater
Yes,
intrusion?
Yes, seawater intrusion
Yes.
and
But
whatever.
we use the latest data, you know, we want to be standing on firm data, so we're collecting that data. I believe, and I was sitting at that water master meeting, there was a presentation that Montgomery and Associates gave where the modeling data they were referencing was from, I think, the 2010s at best.
Yes, yes. And I asked, do we have anything updated that we can give or whatever? So this part of that.
We do, and that feeds into the next staff note as well.
Okay, and you know, I think y'all need to bring that to the board sometime so we can see what we're getting.
Oh, in terms of our modeling results?
Of the modeling, you know.
And then I just have two quick questions.
Yeah, go ahead. I have a couple questions. Rob.
Oh, you go first. Go ahead.
On the lab analysis work, do we have to report to state regional quality control board?
Absolutely.
Does CalAm also have to report to them?
I don't know what well work they do that needs to be, reported to the state water board for sure on water rights.
Well, okay, well, if it's through the state water board, it would probably also include the regional water board. It's more of a water quality board, I think.
Yeah, so Department of Drinking Water is out of the state board, and regional water quality tends to be the groundwater. So because they're the water purveyor and they're making the drinking water, they do a lot of reporting to the State Water Resources Control Board. We both report to the State Water Resources Control Board for our water rights. And then because we're heavily groundwater focused with the ASR program, we also, and then monitoring, you know, for the water master and in the Carmel Valley alluvium, we also report to the regional board.
Interesting.
It's a hell of a structure, isn't it?
Well, it's sort of duplicative.
But, well, that's the way state and then local and then everything. Yeah, you had another couple questions?
I just wondered, for you first, we spliced this out in 3 different areas on the budget. Do you know why that is?
Spliced it out in 3 different areas. Do you?
It's because of the different reimbursement programs. The water master reimburses for some of it related to the Seaside Groundwater Basin seawater intrusion. CalAm reimburses for the ASR monitoring.
Okay.
And I don't know what the third one is.
The water distribution system applicants.
Oh, that's it. Thank you.
Right, because we have a no connectivity. That's what they have to show if they want to do a confirmation of exemption. That the water that they're drawing from the well is not coming from Carmel Valley alluvial aquifer.
Understood.
And for some, if they're within the boundary of the CVAA, the only way you can tell is to analyze the molecules of water, because the Carmel River underflow has a certain constituency. And if these people who want their own well can show that their water constituency is different, then they will qualify for confirmation
That
of
is
exemption.
wild. That is
Yeah.
wild.
And we have a form that John fills out that I review. It's called a no connectivity report. And on most of the ones I've seen, he actually does it. And sometimes it's from Aaron Berman, who's done a report for the property owner who's doing the well.
This is mind blowing.
Yeah.
So that's how you can
You can
attribute.
tell the difference of where the water is from. Yes.
Amazing. And then the last question is, and maybe you're the one to ask, do we really need to do a CEQA NOE on this? Are you required to do that?
I leave that to my boss.
Oh, okay. That seems wild, but all right.
Okay, is there a motion second on this one?
I move approval.
I'll second.
Just a quick thing, we will amend the title to say consider recommendation to authorize instead of consider recommending. It's minor word change.
Sound good.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, passes 3-0. Item 17, Montgomery.
All right, well, and this is a great lead-in from the analytical work, is to consider recommending the board authorize a contract with Montgomery and Associates for groundwater modeling support for the district. We have 2 models that have been integrated, but they can serve different purposes. The Carmel Valley alluvial aquifer has been used to study various dam approval or dam removals. I'm sure it was used for the San Clemente. It's also been used for the Los Padres. The work we're doing to figure out how to get additional ASR water will rely on that Carmel Valley alluvial aquifer model. The Seaside Groundwater Basin model has been around, I think it's pushing 20 years. We use that a lot. We are with the Water Master coming in, the worries on seawater intrusion, Pure Water Monterey expansion, and the various extraction wells that are being planned on top of the ASR projects. Questions have arisen and continue to arise regarding the Seaside Groundwater Basin and its status and what the many changes are going to effect. So questions come up all the time. We're requesting 55,000 in case questions come up this year, so that we can run, as we're headed into this final stretch, so that we can run the groundwater model in a quick and effective manner to get the answers that we need.
This is the one I think the board needs, the public needs to look at and see. All those things that you brought up that in Seaside Basin. The Water Master, I'm not saying we can't get it from the Water Master, but their meetings are more, closed off in a way, even though it's a public meeting. I think more people look at this meeting over here than anything. So we need to, if we're paying for this, they need to see all those, what you brought up, ASR, pure water. They need to know what's going into the basin. So y'all need to set up a presentation, not now, sometime in the future, before I leave this board, to tell everybody that what's going on with the Seaside Basin. So.
Well, I think Montgomery and Associates, I'm not sure. I mean, I know they're been around a long time and they're involved in water everywhere, but I was in contact with the Salinas Valley Basin GSA. And we're talking about between the Seaside Basin and the Marina side, as well as the Corral de Terra side. But this was Marina and Seaside, those two. And what I thought I was being told was that the report on the flow regarding the basin, that Marina seems to think that there's more of a flow of water from Marina toward the basin.
Towards Salinas Valley.
Well, it's kind of coming south,
Oh,
into
thank you.
Seaside.
Okay.
The Water Master seems to think, their data says it's a flow out of the basin. So they're saying this. And what the GSA was trying to do is say, how can those two agencies kind of find a way to figure out what's really going on? And I don't know the answer to that, but boy, that's really, and I think Montgomery's doing the work for both of them. So why wouldn't there be something there?
I can maybe give a little preview, and this is for work that the board's already authorized. We're meeting with their modeler every other week. And unfortunately, I don't have materials. We're in the process of getting answers and getting something that is understandable and presentable. The division between the Monterey subbasin and the Seaside basin is what's called a flow divide. So if this level right here, that's your surface, that's your groundwater, they call it a static water level. Here's the ground, here's where your water is below ground. If you sink 2 pumps in where each of my fingers are and you start pumping really hard, you get a depression. So you're pulling water from all over, but the water from here doesn't get to over here because you've got a mound of water in between. And, for me, I kind of think of it in sand. If I had a big deal of sand and I started scooping out from one area, the sand will start to collapse in. that what we'll call flow divide can move. So depending on which two monitoring wells you're looking at can really inform the answer to that question. If the groundwater divide, if I had two wells here and this one starts pumping a lot harder, the groundwater divide's actually going to move this way. Well, if you're measuring right here on what your water levels are, you're getting a different answer than if you're measuring right here. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, no, and it's the timing or the.
It's almost like quantum mechanics. Heisenberg's principle.
So that's exactly what we're working on, is trying to understand that, because at some point, everybody's going to have to sit down together, even though we have different regulatory bodies, and get out of the, you're taking on water, no, you're taking on water, and really understand what's going on and what do we actually need to be concerned about.
So the points of observation could provide a different answer.
And the volume.
Yeah.
It's not just the location, but the volume of the pumping. Yeah, I would guess that Seaside is pumping a lot more than what Marina is, at least in that area. Marina's pumps are generally a little farther away.
They're definitely further away, and then you've got the General Jim Moore area, a huge swath of it that won't be built or pumping because of the emissions. So there's a lot of interesting angles.
Yeah, yeah. So, Alvin, going back to your point, you're hoping for some discussion of these interrelationships?
Yeah,
or-
in the future.
In the
you know,
future, okay.
They need to bring out that modeling that they got and show us, so. We need to schedule some between now and 2026.
Oh, sure.
We're trying to contract for our needs for the model at this point,
yeah.
and not solve this other problem that we're.
Right.
Fair enough. So again, was there a motion, a second? I didn't.
No, I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Any other comments? How you doing?
No, I mean, except for the budgeting side of things, I mean, this is fairly modest for this type of work, wouldn't you say?
It is. We've kind of got it down to figuring out what we need, and unfortunately, the modeling and the analysis and talking it through, what do we need to change, what do we need to tweak, takes some time.
And money, absolutely.
But if we needed more money, we'd probably come back to you mid-year.
I'm for getting information and, he's the source, or he, Montgomery's associates are the source. Any other comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. Item 18.
All right, and this one, I want to note that the amount should have been.
Oh, one second. I'm so sorry.
Please.
Mark. So are we trying to fix things like typos? Because there's a.
Yeah, so
On the 17.
on the title.
On the title,
Yeah.
It says off rows. I like that.
Yes.
Yes, I'm making it as we go along.
Oh, okay, fabulous, okay.
I've got them too.
Yeah.
We'll sit down tomorrow.
Good catch.
Oh, that's
Yes.
right.
Sorry.
Oh, no, please. So there's a typo on this, a fairly important one, 55,000. I think he meant to have 17,500. So we'll reduce the ask to $17,500. And,
You just got it approved.
yeah. I hope I didn't make him mad. I know.
Yeah, not to exceed. Yeah, I see that.
So we've been working with the USGS, and Corey here was employed with the USGS, so he can speak to, I'm sure, more questions than I could ever think of. And we've been working with the USGS to measure two really critical gauges on the Carmel River. We use both of them to determine how long we can do ASR injection. One of the stations has data that goes back to 1962, and we've been working with USGS since the 1980s. And this is a cooperative agreement that if there are specific questions, I'll defer to Corey. We're requesting $17,500 to continue our cooperative agreement with the USGS for the next water year, 2025, which will begin October 1st.
So, to get him on the record to show that he was here, come on up for a minute.
My feet hurt.
How long do a gauge last?
Well, so the USGS has gauges all over the country. Some have been in operation for over 100 years. But typically, as long as you maintain them, the longer a hydrologic record, the better. So you can keep them operating indefinitely.
Okay, I don't know how many gauges we got along the river, but
So
every
the
couple of-
USGS has 2 on the Carmel River, and we fill the gap all over the rest of the watershed.
Okay, and we got probably other gauges that, you
Yeah.
know, regularly we're approving gauges that go on the river, so
Right.
That's
The USGS is operating 2 gauges since the 60s. And then we've established our own gauges. We operate about 20 of our own gauges on the smaller tributaries and also on a few other places on the Carmel River since about the early 90s.
okay. All right, that's all I got. You got on the record, so you were here.
So what are we, because there's a mention here at the end of the staff note here that Exhibit 17A is an example of agreement that will be negotiated for water year 2025, but then there's no. Oh, wait, 17A. Do we have that?
The previous one.
I don't think so. No.
Oh, right. It wasn't included.
So I, not that I need to see the agreement, Corey, but my question to you is like, so what is that money being used for specifically? Is it through, what it's being spent on in relation to the relationship with USGS?
So the USGS offices run out of Santa Cruz, and they have like a staff of 15 people that operate gauges all over the Central Coast. So that $17,000 pays for.
That's our contribution.
Yeah, So the USGS through federal grants kind of doesn't quite match, but pays for a portion of the gauge, and we pay for another portion of the gauge. And then the Monterey County Water Resources Agency also pays for a gauge. We kind of have a agreement to split the cost between gauges on the river.
And what does USGS get from us? They get the data from our gauges also?
They don't take the data from our gauges. It's just part of how the USGS functions. Since it's a federal agency, they want to have as much to stream flow data as possible throughout the country as far as understanding water supply and drought. It's just something that they have a whole data program that's just committed to collecting data all over the country.
Would it be too much to ask if we got the sample contract for the?
No, we can include it. Yeah, we can certainly include that. A sample contract, and maybe last year, whatever contract we had, we could probably use that.
That's what I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they may have sent
It's like
something.
it's usually like a 1-page contract
Right.
that just says they're going to come out
I know
and
it
take
costs
monthly measurements as well as additional measurements during flood events, and they'll maintain the gauge.
And we get their data. And is their data?
Everyone gets their data. It's just, yeah.
We are using the data to triangulate our data, it looks like.
Yeah, so we have the gauges we have our gauge, the Highway 1 gauge, is a bit downstream from their gauge, but it's having their gauge there is a little bit of offers a little bit of redundancy for informing us about our ASR operations.
But it gives you confidence.
It gives us confidence, and it also, since the gauges are in different locations, we can watch the flood waves move down the river and understand timing of flood waves a little better when it's going to reach Highway 1.
And those data outpoints, aren't they on our website now
Yeah.
too, along with our own gauges? They're
Yes.
all on there now.
Yeah,
So we're linked.
we're linked.
That's great. And there's a third-party vendor we pay to manage that on the websites.
Yes.
And that was Corey's project as well.
Nice, very nice. I love that. I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
cool, huh?
It's really cool. Have you been getting any feedback at all?
I haven't been hearing too much.
I mean, it's a little nerdy, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Because I like to watch
I
it.
shared it with some of my professors, and they were they were like losing their minds. Like, this is the coolest thing ever. Yeah, from when I was in school, who kind of like taught me the ropes.
Well, so I like to, so I go on and like, especially on the heavy, I wait for like a heavy rain and then I watch it and just, you can watch it hour by hour and you just see it. Like, how often is it updated? Is it real time?
Hourly, but it's usually about an hour behind, even when it updates hourly. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Well, you want to move forward
Well,
approval?
yeah, cool. I thought I had a question. That's why I was
Yeah.
trying to bounce something through my brain, but it didn't rise. Okay, I'll take a motion for this.
You want to move it?
I-
Since you wrote it, I'll second it. I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Corey, too, yes.
Good job.
Well, we definitely have a typo on the next one.
Great enough.
19.
We'll fix it.
No, that's Simona.
Okay.
Where is it?
Item
Authorized?
19?
The cost estimate is $58.90.
Yeah.
I was like,
Oh, the comma. Yes, there's a comma.
I mean, if we were in Europe, that'd be correct.
Yeah.
So any comments or questions from this? I have.
Yeah, I'll just provide a brief context. So the current fiscal year budget includes 70,000 in funding to purchase a backup generator. And this is needed for continuity of district operations because when we have a power outage, our servers kind of lose power and then no one can do any district work. We can't access our data, our documents, softwares. We won't be able to process our permits. So we need a backup generator to keep us running. And so we went out and got 3 quotes. The lowest quote was from On Point Generators. And then we made sure that this includes all applicable permits, utility hookups, and it also includes a 5-year warranty. So we're recommending to move forward with the entity that is provided as the lowest quote and has also included everything that's needed in the scope of work for this project.
Do we not have a generator now?
We don't. We have a battery backup, and that's only for the servers to make sure that the servers are shutting down correctly. And that only, I think, sustains for half an hour.
And then this is hooking up to natural gas and it's automated?
This will hook up to the natural gas. This vendor will install that natural gas line. They will put a pad, I think, on this side of the building and kind of hook it up with the electrical system.
And you're gonna budget about $1,500 every year for maintenance, right?
Now that you mentioned it, yes.
Because I have a full house generator.
Some man with a generator.
Well, welcome to Monterey. When we moved here from San Jose, and then one of the things was it's got a full house, like a freaking Mercedes Benz, it's this thing on the side house, super quiet. I'm like, what the hell? What am I gonna do with that? Welcome to Monterey. All my neighbors bring their food over to our refrigerator because of course, when they do that. But the other thing I didn't realize about it is we pay $1,000 a year to maintain it. I'm sure this unit will be more like 2,000.
Yes, yeah.
Probably twice as big. So
We have a budget for facilities maintenance, so that budget will amend that budget as needed. Yeah.
and you have to put in there, although I don't know, you might be far enough away, but I think it's like 10 years, the maintenance is bad because I guess the ocean air rusts certain things inside the, you might be far enough away. I just got the rust maintenance quote. I wasn't happy about it.
Well, thank you for sharing your experience and wisdom. So we will tap into that.
Just FYI.
So when are we gonna get this in place? I think I've been hearing about a generator for
Yes, this is a long
quite a
lead.
while.
This is a long lead item. Once the order is placed, they start the manufacturing process. It gets manufactured in Wisconsin. It takes anywhere from 4 to 6 months at least.
Lisa,
Yeah.
I'm glad you told me 4 to 6 months because I'll be driving around looking for it. I won't.
As long as you get it in before the next winter.
Less travel.
Right.
So the pad's gonna be right out here, on this side of the building. Something in the back?
Yeah, I'll have to check with them where exactly, but we will put it in the optimal location.
Yeah.
You know, for a facility this big, that's actually a pretty good price. I was surprised that this is-
Yeah, that's the other thing we looked at, is the capacity of the generator enough to power up the servers and the offices. And so the 48 kilowatt generator, I think, should be sufficient.
And this is budget.
Yes, we had 70,000 this year for this line item.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. All right, item number 20 is the treasurer's report.
Yeah, this is the standard monthly report. The treasurer's report is for the month of April. I'll just provide a brief synopsis. We began the month with 26 million in cash and investments, and ended the month of April with 28.7 or 28.8 million. We received the property tax installment. This is the second installment in the year, along with the user fee deposits. So that amounted to 3.2 million. And cash disbursements in the amount of 607,000 were made, which included about 27,600 in rebate payments. And in the same report, Exhibit C, you'll see that the district has received revenues of up to 24.9 million and has expenditures of approximately 21.7 million as of April. So we're tracking our operating expenditures and revenues, but our reimbursable revenues from projects, that is what is causing the difference here. And that's my report.
We need to vote on this before we go to the board.
We vote on recommending the board approve it.
Questions?
Yeah. I'll
You
take
need a motion?
Yeah, take a motion to,
Okay, I move that the board accept treasurer's report.
okay. I'll second. We'll recommend that it'll be on the agenda, recommending from our committee for approval. Okay, second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0. Okay, item, is it 21?
Yes, item 21, finally, the last one. So this item is a resolution that's required by the County of Monterey to collect the water supply charge and also to indemnify the county for the administrative charges that they collect. Since it's not an ad valorem tax, but a fee that's implemented using the Prop 218 process, the county needs a resolution from the district approving this. And I'll just add that the district has met the procedural and substantive requirements of Prop 218 when this fee was passed, and the resolution would be to collect those fees as part of the property tax bills for next fiscal year.
So if we didn't adopt the resolution, just say we forgot about it, would it not be on the bill? Would it not be on the?
The county would ask for it.
They know it's missing.
They know it's missing, and they'll probably make us pass a resolution.
Okay.
I was about to say, let's see.
No test, please.
No.
I'm sorry.
In fact, we received a letter from them that we should, like, this is the format of the resolution. It needs to be passed and be sent to the county.
So get a reminder. So, okay. Okay, and it's the 218 process. It's,
Do we do this every year?
We do this every year. It's the same resolution. The format is exactly the same every year.
ever since we started collecting it.
Exactly. Ever since, I think that was, in
What, 8 years or
2012.
something? It's not sure the number of years. I mean, we had to get the authority, and then it took several years before it got on the tax bill.
And on paragraph 2, I think we'll put in the resolution number that's missing in the staff report.
Move to recommend and approve.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes 3-0. So the next is an information item. If there are any questions, it's information only. That's the contracts over 25,000. Moving quickly to the next comment about the status report on spending for public ownership. And I just want to, just for our, if I went through this EIR, LAFCO, and the domain, if I took all the totals, I'm just looking at the total authorized, I'm not doing the total expenditure, I'm just looking at the total authorized. Could I add up the bottom total of each of those? Let me just look at 220 for a minute, if I could, at the bottom of the 2022 chart. You have two separate items there listed for litigation expenses. And then you got a total that's a couple lines above that. So is that 1.9 plus 200 plus 400 to summarize what happened in 2022?
Yes, I think we still continue to incur charges for LAFCO, and so we had to break it out of that total. I think it was because of the appeal process. So to answer your question, what's the total so far? Yeah, 1.9 million plus 200,000 plus 400,000.
Okay, and then I added up all those totals, and I'm up at almost $4.5 million where we are. I'm 4,456. 4,456,000. That's my total of everything. I just want us to know that's what it's costing. It's all worth it, and so it's also my understanding that probably all of this will be calculated into the acquisition cost and financing in order to reimburse the district for
Yeah, that's a good
all of
point.
our expenses, all of our expenses.
Yeah, so that's the authorized amount. We will look at the actuals and include those actuals in the cost of the purchase.
Just a comment. So anyway.
Thank you.
The last thing on our agenda is the review of the special meeting coming up on June the 17th. We start at 5 p.m. So there'll be closed session that evening. Mainly labor, but also the general counsel proposal back to us. Which is,
I know the Dave's had a conversation, so that's probably what would be.
okay. And just while we're on the district council for a minute, in the agenda, there's always a report from district council. I would like the district council to also just report on the schedule of coming court issues.
Right.
Just a schedule.
Court and CPs.
And then the PUC, yeah, everything we're actively involved in that somebody else is going to make a decision. Just a schedule of what they are and maybe help us remember what they are too, because there's quite a few out there, 5 or 6 or something.
So, the action items on the agenda, are you looking at?
Yes.
27 and 28. And obviously 28, we've been having some discussions about. Why am I not following what 27 is? Is that?
27 was carried over from last month. The entity required more time, so we have put it on the agenda and put out the report.
Oh,
And then Dave was contacted later after we had published that they were requesting more
I see.
time.
All right.
So he does have a modified report.
Okay.
And 28, of course, we'll get our budget.
No pressure, Nikhil.
I think we already went through the pressure. This is just the summary.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
And I think everything on the consent calendar we've looked at, except item number 1 on the consent calendar is the minutes of the special meeting and the budget workshop and so on. And we don't review, just because it's on the consent calendar doesn't mean that we reviewed it. There's occasionally a few items that we don't review. I'm just going to call your attention to that. That's the only one I saw that we don't review.
Correct.
We saw everything else.
It's Yes, mainly the items that have any costs associated with them come to the committee.
And through the chair, before we close, Sarah,
Yes.
are we gonna be up on Zoom so people can raise their hand and
I
and-
did go through that exercise for,
Oh, right.
before the budget workshop, our last meeting, and everything's fine. And I
Okay.
did test with outside persons, Melody Chrislock and Phil Wellman. So
Oh.
I tested in-house, somebody, the issue was coming in as an attendee versus a panelist. And so I did go through that exercise, and I had Zoom look into my account as well, so.
Okay, just for the record, you on top of it, we on top of it, so
Yes,
we'll be ready, because people wanted to speak, so,
Well, yeah, we've had a little awkward experience here recently, so.
Yeah.
6 months, so
well, thank you.
it's nice to be on top of that. Thank you,
We
Sarah.
can test it out beforehand.
Okay, anything for the good of the order?
Mr. Chair, may I just say, being on the other side of the camera, that it is important that you all turn your speakers on when you speak, because especially when you're over there, like with Mayor Oglesby, who rarely turns it on and sits back in his chair like this, can't hear a thing when you're watching on Zoom. So
Well,
I know it's a nuisance, but
Fran, don't be shy. You gotta speak up when.
I said that I'm speaking from the other side of the camera.
I will keep an eye on Ian because he is a scofflaw. I've known that about him.
I never hear what he says.
I will have things to throw at him.
He's not at his city council meeting, so that's why.
Thanks for saying, Fran.
Okay,
Oh, it's such nice having you. Are we done?
Yeah, I haven't seen you in a long time. Meeting adjourned.
thank you.
Thanks.
Yep, we got
Thanks.
through it.